Welcome back to the DB990 Restoration channel. Today we're going to start and put the final drives back together. First bit, we're going to put the pinion shaft in that we have just gotten back from the machine shop. As I showed you on the quick video, quick short one that didn't turn into a short, we've had this machined off, welded up and machined again, because it was all pitted and very badly damaged. So that's been repaired. Right, before we start, a little something that I want to go through with you regarding part numbers on here and how you know whether this is a left hand or a right hand final drive casting, other than the obvious that the plug's in the bottom. So this one has to be a left hand one. But this is how to identify whether it's a heavy duty, a standard one, left or right. Let's have a look at the part numbers that's cast into the framework here. They would have 914072 here. They would have 914071 here. Now the D is purely and simply probably a identifier for the manufacturer of this casting. It may be that your castings have a slightly different number on them. Sorry, not a different number. It may be that your castings have a different letter identifier on, because there were different foundries that used to supply Davy Brown. They didn't just order from one foundry, because obviously they had to have continuity of castings. If something happened to one foundry or there was a delay, they had to be able to get enough products from another foundry in order to keep the production line going. And this is possibly how they identified where this casting came from. Right, the next thing is why on here have we got 7.2 and 7.1 is missing. Right, well, because if we look at our other casting, the 7.1 is there, but the 7.2 has been ground off, because the other one is the right hand casting. What they would do, the castings were made obviously with 72 in here, 71 in here. When the person machined this casting and he handed it by drilling the oil drain hole either in this end or in this end, he would then grind off the relative numbers. So he's ground off 71 because he hasn't drilled this end. The 72 is still here because the drain plug's in that end. That's your bottom, this is your top. So if you look in the parts book, you'll find here that 72 is the left hand standard final drive casting for a DB990 made between 65 and 71. Now then, I hear you say, that's an awful lot of information. Where are you getting it from? Well, I was given it by Terry Robinson, who has given me an absolute load of information about my particular tractor and about things like this, these part numbers and the sequences of them. He's told me what week and what month that my tractor probably went down H-line production system in the Meltham factory. How does he know all that? Because he was a technical apprentice for Davy Brown early in his years. He's done a lot of research on this tractor for us. I've got all the information. I will publish the information into the community tab once I've contacted Terry and made sure that he's happy for that to happen. I put up where he sourced the information from, the email regarding the numbers on this and how this works. Terry, thank you very much, mate. Very much appreciated. It's all the information like that that we get off people like yourselves is amazing and helps us out tremendously with the history of this tractor. Right, so we've got outer race, spacer, clips and buggered seal. This one we have the spring clip, the retaining spring clip. We have shims to shim the cap out with, and we've got the outer race for this end of the pinion shaft. We've got our cap and our 2 O-rings, and we've got a new seal for the inside of here. Part number 9127 Agriline for that seal. We've also got a pinion shaft there, which I have cleaned. I've washed the bearings out, filled them with grease, hence the bag. Keep it clean at the minute. I know that's bathed in oil when it's in the final drive casting, but I don't know how long it will be before that gets oil in it. We're going to rebuild that. We are going to put the internals in for the bull gear and the final drive shaft that comes in the other way. We have got all our bits and pieces in here. We have got new seals for the outer, got new seals for the seal carrier. We have got the small O-rings that fit on the end of the final drive shaft. We've got the large O-rings that go between this carrier and the casting. And we have also got new circlips, because remember we had a couple that were stuck and didn't fare very well. They were a bit rusty, so we're getting new clips for them. Right, now we're going to assemble this twice today. Once we are going to miss off the seal from in here and the shims from the bottom end. Why we're going to do that? Right, well, because you've got to put the clip in, the bearing seat, the shaft, the bearing, the cap, the clip, and then you measure the gap between the cap and the clip. In the gap, you then put your packs of shims. These are all the shims that came out of this side when it was disassembled. So you put your shims in to be 3 thou less than the gap, which gives that shaft a 3 thou end float, which is a bit of preload on the bearings. Right, then we're going to take it all to bits. Then we're going to pop the seal in. We're going to sort our O-rings out for our cap. So we've got the correct O-ring for the cap. That's the O-ring that fits onto the final drive shaft, between the final drive shaft and the oil seal sleeve. So we don't need that at the moment. And then we'll put it all back together, bump it into position, put the final clip in, pinion shaft in. Right, let's get you set up so we can see what we're doing. Let's get on, get it sorted out there. Let's crack on. Haven't said that in a while, have I? Right, so we're going to pop in the hole, 1 spring clip. As I say, we're not putting the seal in this end at the moment. We'll put that in once we get to the final assembly. Right, got my little brass drift. Give that a tap and make sure it's home. Okay, we need to get this stood up so we can come in from the opposite end and put in the outer bearing. Give that a nice wipe. Check these bearings. They are alright. There's nothing wrong with them. So let's get this flipped over. God, it's heavy. Okay, so we've got a circlip in. Now, pop a spacer in. Spacer goes between circlip and outer bearing. Give it a wipe. Both those outer edges have got good chamfers on. But if we look on here, I don't know if you can see that, you can see on there witness marks, which are actually the numbers off the back of that bearing. So that goes in that way. So let's pop that into there. Now, give our bearing a wipe again. That goes in with the widest end of the taper facing us, obviously, because the bearing's got to go and sit in it. Check they're nice and tight, which they are. Okay, now we're ready to pop the shaft in. Then we need to pop in the second bearing behind it with the cap. No O-ring on the cap either, because we want this to go in and out as easy as possible. So we're not putting that O-ring on the cap at the minute. So let's get this twisted over and we'll get my shaft sorted out, eh? Shit. Right. Let's unwrap our shaft. As I say, this is caked in grease because I don't know how long this is going to stand before it has to be used. And now you can see why the seal wasn't put in, because this has got to go in and out a couple of times. Right, here's a way. So now we take the outer race, right, I need an axle stand. That's what I need. We'll turn our water seal pusher over. just one, that's a tight spot where the clip fits, and then you see there, now it goes in really nice and easy. Now pull that up tight. Okay, now we're going to put the cap in. Push it all the way in. We're now going to put the circlip in. And we measure the distance between the circlip and the cap. And we match that -3 thou with shims. Now you might want to wear eye protection when you're doing this, because these spring clips are lethal. They really, really are. What I've done, the end of mine aren't tapered, mine aren't squared, they're matched there. So when they're open, they tend to spring the clip off instead of pulling it tight to go on. Good job. This is going to get another coat of paint in it after it's finished. Oh, this is... Let's have a wait a minute. Let's have a look at... Try a different pair. They're nicer, aren't they? Okay, and again, we'll just tap that in. There we go, in position. That's actually got hardly any end floating in it there at all, but that might just be the grease. Now, so we'll get our feeler gauges. So look at a 4th thou. So a 4th thou fits in. Right, there's a gap there of at least 4. Eight. There's not an 8. Five. 5 goes in. Six goes in. 7. 7 doesn't, but just doesn't. Yeah, 7 doesn't, but it's trying. But it might be trying because I might have that clip in the wrong direction. So that's 7 thou -3, 4. So out of our pack here, we'll need, try and get as close as we can to a 1/4 thou shim. Right, so we need a 1/4 thou shim. We've measured this. We take the spring clip back out. We bump the cap out so we can get at it and put the seal on it. Okay. So that's what shim that's going in. Let's get this back out. There we go. Bloody lovely. Bloody lovely. Right. Seal. Grease gun. A little bit of grease around the O-ring. Pop the O-ring into his groove. Make sure it's seated. Otherwise you will have major problems trying to get it back into here. Okay, let's pull that bearing forward again. There we go. Shim goes in against the bearing. So we can tease this in. Right forward. See what O-ring, no, even with circlip, you can see what circlip groove there. Trying to get this right on the end of the points, like that. And then we'll take it back out. Because I didn't check that we'd actually putting that in the right way. And I haven't got my glasses. Right. What you want is there's on the circlip. Where's the other one? It's in the hole. Dafty. A circlip. If you look at a circlip, right, there's a right and wrong way to put these things in. If you look at the edge, inside and out, of this face of the circlip, you will see it is slightly radiused, which is where the punch went in when that was manufactured. It was punched from this side and sheared out from that side, and you see there's a sharp edge on that side. We want that sharp edge facing me, so that the thrust from that shaft is pushing the sharp edge into the ring, the undercut in the casting. If we put it that way, I've never had it happen ever, but it is possible that the shaft can push, and because this is radiused, this will come out of its undercut. As I say, I've never ever had it happen, but there's a possibility. So if we look at that, that has got the sharp edge facing me. Wasn't that lucky? And then we just tap it into position, make sure it's home, have a look at all the damage to my lovely paintwork. But as I say, it doesn't matter, because all of this is going to get another coat of paint once it's on the tractor. Now let's have a look. That's lovely, that. Right, let's get this laid flat. This is where things become heavy, isn't it? Okay, what I'm going to do now, get some grease. What we're going to do now is try and get the seal into here without causing too much vibrations for you guys. My new seal, as I say, Agri-Line part number 9127. And as you see, I've just opened that packet and we're keeping my fingers crossed that it actually is, and it is, the right bit of kit. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to whip over the grease gun. I'm going to put a load of grease in here so we can get this down into position. This comes this way up, spring facing inwards to retain the oil inside the casting. Bit of grease on the out side as well to help it slide in. Put a bit, I'm going to get a bit more. Can it have enough grease? Can't have enough. Okay, pop that over the top of the shaft. Now we need to bump this down till it hits the other side of that circlip that we put in first. So you can do this without hitting the camera, eh? You can hear when that brass punch starts to hit the casting. Happy chappy. Give that a wipe up. Right. Now, we have got the keyway here for the brake drum. However, I haven't got the brake drum today. I'm not going to put the brake drum on at the minute. Two reasons. I need a bit of wood, which is the same distance as from the middle of this cap to the bench top, plus a little bit, so it actually sits on it. And I want a pipe to go over the top of here onto the circumference of that inner face so that I can hit the pipe and knock that down. There is a 10 thou at the minute, 10 thou interference fit between the drum and this shaft. So we'll do that another day. I fettled all these keys up so that they're a nice fit. so they aren't going to interfere with the brake drum when the brake drum goes on. Okay, yeah, that little twizzle. Make sure everything's okay. Happy with that. Now, what we're going to do now is we're going to flip this over and we are going to install the other shaft, the final drive shaft with the bull gear, the bearings and its relative shims. It's a good job I got the GoPro running in it, because I forgot to push record on this camera, so you missed all of that putting that seal in there. So anyway, it's in. Isn't that typical? So we've got the new shaft, sorry, refurbished shaft, new seal in, new bearings in. Right. Now when I get home and start to edit this, I'll probably find that half the good footage is missing because I forgot to push buttons. Okay, let's get set up to do the other side and let's see if we can do it and remember to push buttons. Back in a minute. Right. Second part of assembling the final drive for the left hand side. This is tomorrow. Why is it tomorrow? Because I forgot I hadn't pushed the seal into the seal carrier. Now, to get the seal into the seal carrier, I use my press at home. This is the old seal that came out of here, as you can see probably by the, when I'm turn the right way around, by the damage here that was done trying to get it out, because they are a damn good fit. What I did with this, measured the internal diameter of the carrier, went on my offhand grinder and ground this down to a taper that way, and then used that to come in, sit on top of the seal, push it home. Remember, never throw anything away till you're finished. I was pleased I found that, because I was contemplating all sorts of things for to push that into there, and I certainly wasn't going to use a hammer, because you can see the damage on there with the hammer and punch. You certainly don't want to be hammering new seals into there, especially that size. Right, today we're going to put in final drive shaft with all the associated bits. Let's have a look, see what we've got here. Final drive, dust cover for the oil seal, little O-ring that sits right down on the bottom. That's the seal surface that goes over the shaft and in between the seal. New seal, new O-ring, grease baffle in good nick, didn't need to be changed. Large bearing, inner and outer, didn't need to be changed because it's in good fettle. Bull gear, tapered spacer that goes between the bull gear and the bearing to keep everything tight. The larger end, the larger diameter goes to the bearing. The smaller diameter down here goes to the bull gear. We've got our shims, which will be going in eventually today, but not in the first assembly. It'll be going in after we've measured the gap. Nut and lock washer and the bearing for the opposite end. Now, we also have here the fat fryer. The inner race here will be going in there to heat it up and expand it so we can get it back onto the shaft. The inner race here will be going in there to expand it, get it onto the shaft, as we'll build the seal carrier. So the seal carrier is going to come down, and it comes down and sticks about halfway. So that's going to go into the oil and get heated up. And I find that the oil, it's just old engine oil. It's the one I drained out of the tractor earlier this year due to the fact that I thought it had been contaminated by diesel. Put this in our race in first. Like that. And we'll put this in. that clean. Turn that up. All right, so what I've done as well, this seal is a double seal, and it goes in what I would class as the wrong direction. In other words, the seal will not allow anything to go in, but will allow stuff to come out. Normally you're trying to keep things in, you're trying to keep oil or grease or whatever in. This is allowing the grease to escape, but stopping the dirt and moisture from the axle and the drive shaft getting into the final drive system. But if there's a little void, it's a double seal, there's a little void between the two lips, and I've filled that, pre-filled it with grease. So let's have a look here. First of all, dust cap goes on. Then my little O-ring. Push that all the way down at the bottom. Now the parts diagram for this does not show that O-ring for the standard drive axle. It shows it on the heavy duty axle. So somebody must have been in here, because we think that is like a retro fit. But anyway, so let's have a look. I need a towel to give that a wipe when it comes out. I've got this turned up to 179, and we're just waiting for it to come up to temperature. Then we're going to pop it on. It's going to drop to the bottom. If not, I have a persuader here. I'm leaving this propped up because it's a nightmare to try and pick off anything flat. I've got a persuader with a brass drift just to bump it down. We are then going to turn this over, and we're going to pop it on there with the brass, the baffle in place with the lip, this lip pointing that way, the lip to the seal, so that it guides. The idea of this is when you put grease through the grease nipple, when you put grease in through the grease nipple here, it comes along here, hits the baffle, and is forced to the seal and not backwards into the bearing. So how would it is warm. There we go. Job's a good one. Job's a good one. Right. We're going to give that a little bit of time to cool, because this seal has got to go down over this lip. We'll give that a couple of minutes. Shouldn't take long. It says in the manual, put that on, put your bearings on, push it down on a press till everything nips up tight. It also says, and as you can see, it didn't happen with this one, that you can stake the dust cover into the seal carrier, into that groove there. So you can go around, punch it in, so that the dust cover stays part of that. This wasn't done. Whether it wasn't done in the factory, or whether this has had somebody in doing some replacements, I don't know. But we're not going to do it. You can do it on yours if you wish. I'm not going to do it. Now I think that's just simply bouncing on the O-ring, and that's warm enough now. You can keep your hands on it. So next thing, seal carrier on. As I say, I put a lot of grease on this. Pop that on, lovely. Brass baffle with the lip pointing into the seal. And that is a reasonably good fit onto that the seal surface there. It would have to be, wouldn't it? So, outer bearing. That goes on next. Now, inner bearing's cooking. Drop my inner bearing on there now. Done it again, haven't I? You come down here and you forget your towel. So you're going to drill oil all over my new shoes and all over the floor. Here we go. Drain that off a touch. Pop that over there. Straight down into the bed. Beautiful. That's lovely. Bloody lovely. Right, that's safe, secure. Now, what we're going to do, we're going to give this, that's pretty beautiful, that. Right, give that 5 minutes to cool, and we're going to reset all this, because now this needs to be up on its bottom or on its top, whichever. Right, we're going to bump the outer race down at the casting. We're going to get that right. There's a lip and a spacer on the bottom that's built into the caster. You've got to get that onto that lip. There we go, we're home. Have a quick feel in there. Yep, we're down, we're into there. Okay. But it needs to be up so we can get at it. Back in a minute. Right, I hope we're going to be able to see and get the gist of what's going on in here. So, we're going to put in there our bull gear. Now, if we look at the bull gear, two sides with lugs on, and you can see the witness marks on there from where the lock and washer has come off. All right, so we know that side goes to that side. We've got the outer race in. gear in. Taper in, small end to the bull gear. That goes in there. Actually, that could go on top of there, couldn't it? Because that's where it's going to go anyway. Right. What we've got to try and do now, get this into there, get our lock and washer on and our big nut, get a bit of tension, not a bit of tension, we get it so that it doesn't fall to bits, and then get the inner race for the back bearing into position. Let's not forget a big ring. So I'm going to pop that big ring over there now so we don't forget it. As I say, we are not going to put the shims in because we're going to put this on, we're going to bump it up tight with the bearing and get everything settled. Then we're going to measure the gap between the face of these the seal carrier and the bolting face on the casting. And then we're going to measure the shims minus the gap minus 5 thou to get our preload. Okay, let's have a look, see if we can get this done. That needs to go forward into there. Now, this is harder than you think, which is why it would have probably been easier on the tractor, because you're not fighting the fact that the casting's loose. Nearly there, won't we? Nearly there. Washer. Right. Let's see if we can get our bearing in there now. This is going to be hot. That is just Came out, didn't it? Yes, it came out. I'm going to get a squidge of grease. Some grease on that bull gear face. So stick that to it. Then that on. Can we handle that yet? Nope. As you can see, we have eventually getting the nut on. All we need to do now is pull the nut so it tightens all this up, pulls this in a little bit. Then we need to put some of our we need to put 3 bolts into the cap and squeeze it in gently. Right, let's see if we can get that done then. Right, we use what trusty spanner that I've made. Let's see if it works. Just short. Just short. One, there are 5/8. Put 3 of these in. if we can get it to start. We'll be flying. Right, so tighten this up a little bit further. Because the more we move it, the more it's pulling itself in. We'll have to remember as well, we've got our O-ring in there. We don't want to be nipping that, do we? We're nearly there. Right. Eventually, everything in there is tight. The spacer, the cone spacer and the bull gear is tight against the bearing. And you can see here, I don't know if you can see here, there, just wait a minute, let's just do this gently. There is a slight gap there. And what we need to do now is we need to measure the gap, measure our appropriate shims, shim the gap, put all 6 bolts in, tighten it up, tighten in there, tighten in there. Right, let's measure the gap. Get our feeler gauges. Let's start with a big one, not go in. That one goes in. Where's the next big one? That one will not go in. So that one went in. Well, that one just goes in. 15 thou. Can you see that there? 15 thou. It just goes in. Okay, so we're looking for a 10 thou shim. How big are these shim packs before we even touch them? You know what, the 10 thou. Right. What we'll do, loosen these 3 bolts off. We will loosen the big nut inside, give us a bit of movement, and then we'll ease this out just enough, get our shims in. The joints on your shims go horizontal like that. Don't put them vertically, go horizontal. All right, because obviously the oil isn't half full, so you're using this as your gasket at the bottom. Right, let's get this sorted out. See if we can get this. Now we'll get it nipped up. Jobs are good, and tell your mother. Will they fit? They will. Okay, so now, sorry, something else to remember. In this dust cover, in this carrier, was, oh, we're still bolted up, aren't we? Is a grease nipple. At the back, this is the back. If you're looking from this angle, you want the grease nipple on this side at 7 o'clock. No, sorry, this is the left-hand side. You want it at 5 o'clock because that's the bottom. So you want it at 5 o'clock, don't you, here? So that when you're greasing, you can get in from the back. There, there's what grease port there. So. 5 o'clock's got to be about there somewhere in it. That's going to be at 6 o'clock, that. And that one, oh dear, let's have a look. Right, that goes there. Where's what grease? What grease is here? 6 o'clock. Can I get it in at 5 o'clock? Will we get it at 7, do you think? Yeah, okay. Goes in at 7 there, it's at the front. That'll do. Right, sorry guys. Battery just died, had to reset it. Didn't realise we were going to take so long, eh? Right. Put a washer on the next one. So we can go in. There we go. Now I'm going to come back out. Don't forget though, we've got the bottom to go in as well. So we don't want to be doing these too tight, do we? Don't want to be getting excited here, do we? Right, 3 left, bottom one. Oh dear, that's where the old knees get the hammer. There is a torque spec for these bolts. I think right at the moment, I think it's something like 30 foot-pounds. But I will of course check that before tightening them down. I haven't got my torque wrench here anyway. Right, this one. Put this back out, put a washer on it. Let's get tightened up. Just tightening these up diagonally. Pull everything into shape. Right, there's one there and that hasn't been done. That one. That's way again. Right. Oh, yep. Oh, well, lad, stop sleeping on the game, man. We're nearly there. He's kind of be tired. That's a lot harder than you think. Well, we'll roll this O-ring back into the groove before we forget. Okay. Check our big nut. It's tight in there. We will knock over a leaf. Where's my brass punch? We'll do that now. Can we get in there with that? Right. Now we'll get in. Okay, look in a minute. We'll get 2 done. Okay. That's 2 done. 1 down on the bull gear there. 1, 2 down on the bull gear. There's 3 down, 2 up. I'm happy with that. Right. What we're going to do now. God, I could do with a Guinness. It'd be lovely, wouldn't it? I'm not sponsored by them, by the way. No. Please don't start whinging. What we're going to do now, we're going to slap a load of grease on here because we just do not know when this will get back on the tractor. Right. Now, final bit of the puzzle for today. Got my gasket we made. We're going to pop the cover back on, keep everything clean and tidy in there. That's staked down, that's in there. They will get tensioned up. So let's get a bit of grease. Now I've written on this one, inside bottom. That's the bottom, goes like that. Put a bit of grease on. I'll just hammer these. Right, top, bottom, there we go. Pop that on there for a minute. Give our pasties a wipe. We've got the bolts here for this plate. There's a special one in it, which is this one. It's got a hole drilled through the head, side to side. It's also got a hole drilled through there that connects with that hole. That's your breather bolt. That breather bolt fits in the top. You can imagine, it's no good putting it in the bottom, is it? All your oil's going to come out. Right, let's get a cap. Boy, oh boy, will I be pleased to see the back of this today. Of course, it's got that stage, isn't it, now, where it is so heavy, you're probably going to need an engine crane to shift it. Right. Last one. Right. Job's good. Right. That's it. Back together. Other than the fact it's having a bit of a rub on the wall over there, it's nice and quiet. It's good. Little thing I didn't do yesterday. When I put the pinion shaft in, put the cap in with the shim behind it, I told you guys that it was minus 3 thou. It has to be plus 3 thou, right? So off camera this morning, I pulled that cap back out, I put a 10 thou shim in there, popped it back together. Job's good. There we go. So other than painting, that's ready to go back on the tractor now. Just needs, we'll turn it a few times, get everything lubricated. Now we've got to find somewhere to store the bloody things again, haven't we? Right. Okay. Now, if you like watching Davy Brown tractors, videos on Davy Brown tractors, nip across to Path of Discovery, Shane's channel. I'll put a link in the description somewhere. Pop across, have a look. He's got some cracking videos on Davy Brown 990s, right? And he's also, in a little while in the future, he's going to be pulling his final drives to bits. Shane and I message each other, email each other pretty regularly. I watch all of his videos. I think they're brilliant. If you want to learn, because he's done slightly different things to what I've done. He's done some similar things to what I've done. He's got some cracking videos on the hydraulic system of these. You want to diagnose your hydraulics, you want to rebuild your hydraulics, go across, see Shane's channel. He's currently standing at 500 subscribers, right? Let's see if we can get Shane to 1,000 in 8 weeks. All you guys that pop across, if you like his videos, subscribe. Doesn't cost you a penny, right? You can subscribe to as many channels as you like. Tick the alert bell, and it'll tell you when he releases another video, because he does some cracking videos. Nip across, subscribe, watch his videos, give him your support. He's a good lad. As well as Shane's channel, another good channel that I found recently, last 6-7 months or so, Dave's Workshop. Irish guy, wonderful. Another one, Heart Like a Lion. I think it's a 1200 he's pulling to bits at the minute, but he's doing it out in the field, and I literally mean in the field, right? He's busy, he's got the pistons out, he's got new rings for it, he's not going to do the bearings, but he's doing the top end and the middle. If you want to see again, you want to see Davy Brown, good Davy Brown videos, pop across and see Dave's Workshop, another good channel. Been a hard one, harder than I thought. Like the other one is not going to get rebuilt like this. The other one is going to get that side rebuilt, then put on the tractor, and then this will be put in. And we'll see if it's any easier, and I'll video all of it for you. Okie dokie, that's it for this video. Thanks very much. As always, your time is greatly appreciated when you come visiting us. So please, like, subscribe, tick your notifications bell so it can tell you automatically when there's another video comes out. That'll wrap it up for this week. But remember, don't overthink it. It's only nuts and bolts. Catch you in the next one. Bye now.